Grandsteers.
Ladies, Samuel.
Let's start with the merging heart tone, all right? Pretend you are clumping. So, Jim, would you start it? Good, thank you.
Scotland couldn't wait.
I promise I didn't.
What's the odds of the guy that installs the air conditioner and one that's getting poured on?
Or certainly will be, hey?
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Well, you know, Undines always like to show themselves off. Here I am! Here I am! Well, you just came through the equinox, and that has brought a shift of energy. How are you doing with it? Release? Maybe a little relaxed? Little better? Some?
Comes and goes.
Some, eh?
Difficulty sleeping.
Indeed. And wait till you hear this. Are you practicing good sleep hygiene?
No, probably not. No, definitely not.
That sort of sounds like you should be taking a bath before you go to bed, doesn't it? That would be good sleep hygiene. But what good sleep hygiene actually is, for those of you that might need to add to this, to your list of things, a dark, quiet room,
Electronics far
Put
away from the bed.
Electronics, no TV.
right,
Mask.
for about half an hour at least before you go to bed.
Slightly cooler temperature.
A little bit cooler, good,
Use your bed only for sleeping.
good.
Don't watch TV, read books. If you wake up during the night and can't get back to sleep, get out of bed and do something to
Good.
occupy your time out of bed.
Make sure your room is dark. Dark, dark, dark. That will make a big difference for many of you.
Try to have a consistent sleep routine.
Good, good. Meaning you brush your teeth, you go to the bathroom, you get in bed all about the same time. And you wake up about the same time, and you do not fool yourself into thinking that you can ever catch up with sleep. You just consistently do it when you can.
Don't eat before you go to bed, several hours before you go to bed.
That will make a difference. Aye.
No alcohol or stimulants.
Excellent, excellent. Or depressants, which is what alcohol is. Either way, it's going to mess with your sleep.
Call him the sleep fairy.
Well, there's a few chuckles, but really, it's a sort of fun way to let the universe know that you're ready for sleep now. But do call the sleep fairy. Ask to be sprinkled with magic sleepy dust. See that sprinkling, glittering all around you. And then quietly wait. And you'll fall asleep. Do you sleep with creatures? That's also tough on your sleeping patterns.
They sleep with us.
And I'm not referring to your partner, whom you may consider a creature, nonetheless. I was thinking more of four-legged ones. Although for some of you, what you have is what you have, eh? Another thing is, if you have been doing all of those things and you're not finding that it's helping you very much, you might seek out acupuncture. There is a friend right here who does it. You might, well, not in this room at the moment, you might seek out speaking with your doctor to see if there's anything else going on.
Working with Kathy Adams
Because she seems to know a lot about good sleep hygiene.
thing that she did a sleep thing with me,
Aye. Well, that's good.
so I could revisit that.
Aye. Aye, very good. Well, in that case, see Kathy about helping work through some things that might be keeping you up. And probably one of the biggest things is deal with your anxieties, your stresses, because they will keep you up in ways that other things will not. And remember that a stress doesn't have to be a bad thing happening. It can be really good things happening, but your mind isn't stopping. Remember too, along that same vein, that learning to slow your mind down and be quiet is very helpful. And a reminder of a way to teach yourself to do that. Imagine that these 2 points are glowing lights, all right? And when you breathe in, they separate, and when you breathe out, they come back together. Now that's very exaggerated, because when you are in bed at night, theoretically you're breathing more like if you time your breathing with that visualization, you are putting your focus on your breath without really trying. And you will find that it becomes a way for you to fall asleep. Now, the farm would tell you that one of the best ways to fall asleep is to pray. So try sending energy, solving the problems of the world, but don't get into them, just because it's a very relaxing thing to do. Sleep the best you can where you are with what you have at the moment. All right, we were talking about how you were dealing with the energy change. And nobody knows but Colleen. Very good, Colleen.
Well, there's another thing too.
Hey?
I mean, you're sleeping good when you have REM sleep. Certainly better.
I would differ with that, but all right.
I've been having vivid dreams of things in very early childhood that I haven't thought about in a long time.
I would suggest that the universe is helping you work through things that will make your life simpler and your journey easier. Having said that, however, remember that every massive energy transmission brings a lot of very big changes in your dreaming patterns, whether that is they become very vivid or they stop being very vivid. They are remembered or they stop being remembered. A lot of dream changes. And what I said it was that I might disagree with a bit is that I always want to know if you are dreaming. If you are dreaming, you're pretty much okay. But dreaming is not necessarily your best rest. There is a slight period before and a longer period in the first 2 sleep rhythms of your night that are really your best rest. If you are somebody who is regularly, I'll tell you what, I'm having a lot of trouble bringing the Texas back into this conversation tonight. That's right. I just want to shift right there. All right, I give up. Where was I?
Everybody's having energy problems, no matter which side of the veil they're on.
I think I was going more about the before and after that REM time is when you're going to get the best amount of your sleep, unless you are generally sleep deprived. And then you're likely to find that your best sleep is right when you go to sleep. And that's, which is a really scary thought.
Having been sleep deprived, I just want to, if I can, throw in a few things. If you snore a lot, or if you startle yourself awake while you're sleeping, you probably need to see a sleep specialist. If you go to your regular doctor and they just give you sleeping pills, try low doses of melatonin first, because those sleeping pills, I never feel rested even though it knocks me out.
Some people will have nightmares with melatonin, so do not just give it a whack if you need to be operating heavy machinery the next day. But there are some mixes you can get with melatonin, and remember that melatonin is one of those in which less is better. Sleep disorders happen. Some snoring has more to do with allergy disorders and the makeup of your sinus system. But a lot of times, snoring is your body's way of saying, "Are we dead?" And that has to do with the startling yourself awake because you're breathing again. All right. Not dead, keep going. Right. Sleep is important. Dreaming is more important. I would rather you feel that you are regularly dreaming than you are regularly getting enough sleep. All right. I'll talk to you since you won't talk to me. All right, now you are Lakshmi than Mary.
This has been a very sweet energy for me.
Good.
It seems like it's like I'm on a constant flow. I see a lot of doors opening. I find conversations very nourishing. I'm at the right time, at the right place in many times. And there was this one day where, ever since I heard your talk in Atlanta about the master numbers and such, there was this one day, wherever I saw the clock, the whole day, it was a master number. 11:11, 11:22, 11:33, 11:44, 11:55, and throughout the day, and it still happens. And it's like every time I see that and I ask what's the message with it, and it gets there.
Nice.
So this has been even if things were not working, I'm able to like redirect that into a flow easily.
Good.
I love this. So how long is this going to be around?
Well, the first thing that I want to say about that is that it's important for you to remember that the energy itself is neutral, and it's your response to it based on where you are at this time that causes it to be difficult and making me crazy, or if it's a lovely, wonderful flow and release. So I would say that has a lot to do with you. It's when you find nothing is flowing the way you hoped or the way it usually does, ever. And you're also having trouble sleeping, and you're also not remembering your dreams, and you're also, that you might say, is it time for an energy change here? Because that will pack a lot of things down there together. But it's your response to it that determines whether it's a good flow or a bad flow. You got that.
Or a bad witch.
I have a couple of jobs where I'm kind of the complaint department, and having to do
That's
a lot
more than just here, right?
yeah, and you get an opportunity to do a lot of loving confrontations and that kind of thing.
Stop talking about you, Mark.
And,
Or you, Susie.
and I found that over the last couple of weeks, it's decreased, and this last week it's significantly decreased, which frees up time,
And mental space.
and mental space, yeah.
Yes.
So it's a little more relaxing for me.
Good, good. Well, since so much of what was going on from the solstice to the equinox had to do very, very much with pulling out whatever isn't working so that you will be able to make those needed changes, when that energy began releasing, you became able to see and feel that change. Now, I usually ask you to pay attention to what's going on in the world around you, because it's going to be a reflection of what you're seeing. I would like to tell you that what is going on right now in your country is not a reflection of you literally, whereas very often it is literal. You're at a very good point to make connections, to see manifestation, to enjoy the kinds of connections that you make in your spiritual life. And out in the world, what you're seeing is people who either do not have a focus in that way, or who are turning it into hardship. So for this little grace period right now, don't always think it's you, all right? Give yourself a little break there. It's October. September is gone. October is one of my favorite months. Why do you think that is? You're right. And what, yeah, sure, it's not Columbus Day. Why? What is that about?
It's when the veil is the thinnest, or the veil is very thin, but it's also the Celtic New Year. It's the beginning of the New Year for the Celts. But it's a magical time because that veil is very thin.
And what does that mean for you, that the veil is very thin?
That you have a stronger connection with the unseen.
That's right. Absolutely right. A connection that is going to be getting higher and higher and higher throughout the month. So I want to suggest a couple of things. One of them is that you be ready for that. Through your dreams, through what you see, don't be surprised. The unseen is often thought of in this society as ghosts, ghost toasties, ghosts. But what is a ghost?
Spirit of something. Energy.
Sort of a leftover memory or impression that came from this life.
I'm
But
good
it's
with
not
both
an
of
actual-
those, yes.
Not an actual person.
Yes. It's the essence of a personality left over, a memory. But the other thing that it can be is a spirit. An unseen being, not unseen, your cat sees it all the time, your dog checks it out all the time, but not within your particular spectrum of translated light. But that spirit energy can also be other dimensional energy. Again, unseen, again, spirit, but thinking it's living a great little life in some time, some space, and it has crossed over a bit into your time and your place. And maybe you're only seeing it out of the corner of your eye. Good gracious, all right, maybe not the corner at all, but a little bit out of the edge of your vision, or maybe you walk into a room and there was somebody there you weren't expecting to have there. Or maybe you're just minding your own business and somebody in Victorian dress walks across your bedroom. At this time in the year, more of that happens than not. But where I want to go with Samhain has to do with it being the release of the old and the recognition of the new, which is very much the Celtic New Year, or any new year, or a new endeavor, or a recreation of your own self and your own life. There's no easier time to start over, to begin anew, to set forth not only for what you want and what you want to be, but to also change what has been to express the best of you. This is a great time to be reborn, a great time to die, without it having to be a physical death. It's a great time to be reborn. So I want you to think for a few moments. What has this year, or even the last couple of years, been about for you? What are things you have learned about yourself? And while you're thinking about that, I want to ask if there are things that you would rather no longer be in your life. Rather not be a part of who you are, what you're doing, where you're going, and how you're going there. And after you've thought about that for a bit, allow yourself to think about, what do you want to keep? Because you need to remember that you can never fully let something go if you don't have something to replace that. And that replacement can be as simple as gratitudes for what you have, rather than simply thinking about what you don't want and letting it go there. Ideally, you're replacing an action for an action, a thought for a thought, a belief for a belief. But if all else fails, remind yourself what you're grateful for and insert it in that cosmically empty space that comes when you consciously release a thing. Occasionally I forget that this body is a girl's. If I had anything to do with Scotland, I would have said, occasionally I forget that this bonny wee lass is exactly that, a lass. But I'm trying to put the Texas back in, so I'll say a girl. Or a woman. Yes, that's politically correct, right? What do you want to keep in your new year? And because we're talking about energy beings, seen and unseen, I'd like to ask you what it is you want to keep insofar as your spiritual life. Are there friends that you would like to have a stronger relationship with? That you want to allow your life to open into deeper connections? Are there things that you want to be doing in this coming year? This time of manifestation is particularly powerful, but only if you're not being bombarded by, I'm trying to get rid of this, I'm trying not to be that, I'm trying, and only looking at the negative or the hard or the difficult, or the way the world is handling it and getting politically crazy, which I guess is pretty easy to do these days. If November started you into a new life, what would your new life look like? Now, you've got to think of that. I'm not asking you here. If November began a brand new life for you, what would you want it to look like? And now here comes the big question. What do you need to do to make that happen? And there are many things, and each one of you are going to have a different answer for that. But the key in Samhain manifestation is the action you take. So what action do you need to take to have what it is you want for your new life? And I'll tell you a wonderful secret. You know the answer to that. You know it already. And all you need to do is quiet yourself down a bit and ask, what is it I need to be doing to be able to see what I need to see, hear what I need to hear, say what I need to say, be whom I need to be. Ask. Now, I am really looking forward to next week, I guess, being in Sedona, Arizona, talking to some of your friends, some of you, about seeing, hearing, experiencing the energy that connects all things. It's a very good place to be able to practice that higher awareness. But one of the exercises that I'm going to be giving that group, I want to give to you. Because at this time, when you are in a very strong manifestation opportunity, in which the old can pass away and the new, even if it's just a seedling, can begin its growth, you're going to be finding that it really helps if you can consciously connect to the energy that's all about you. Now, many of you are very, very familiar with the label I'm putting on this, and that is to practice sitting. Sitting. Now, I've not encouraged the practice of sitting for a very long time. But I have noticed of late two things. One of them is, it's a very simple practice that has massive results. And the second one is, it's a very easy thing to teach other people who are needing to learn what the little voice in their head is really saying, rather than what you think it's saying. Thank you, Colleen. She laughs at my jokes. Sitting takes two people. Samael, can you do it with just one? It takes two people. Doing it with yourself is not going to be nearly as effective for anything ever.
Could you do it with Quinn?
Only if you understand what Quinn is saying to you would that work. And what I recommend that you do, if you live alone, you don't have somebody you can make that connection with, think several ways. One of them is electronically. Now, you'll have to help me here. Skype or FaceTime. Those were the two that were popping up. And there are perhaps more that would allow Gwendolyn to connect with Susie, they're just right here in front, I'm not asking, to do this, because electronically that can work. So you can try that. Best answer, however, is face-to-face. Now, think about individuals you would like to strengthen your relationships with. Because this is a great exercise for doing that, because you are going to connect with each other in some ways that you do not usually connect. If you are really serious about strengthening a spiritual community in your life, and I know that many of you are, creating regular sit-ins, and they take only a few minutes, tops 10. This isn't a 5-minute meditation, but sitting doesn't take long.
How many people can you have in a sitting?
2.
Only 2? Okay.
Great.
Got it.
But if you have a group, you can break off into 2s, although it may well mean that one person is just answering questions if it doesn't even out.
Didn't you have us sit back to back instead of looking at each other?
Well, I haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, okay.
You're just a step ahead. So you've got somebody that you're going to be with, and you're both aware that what you're doing here is sitting, all right? Don't fool somebody. Hey, come over, let's chat. All right, here's what I got. Doesn't work so well. Now, for who you are at this time, I recommend you flow this way with sitting. So try to let go of the old sitting techniques, even though this is going to be right there with it. What goes on with you is going to be different than any participation you might have had long ago. First thing that you want to do is relax. And I'm not asking you to go through this right now, because I saw a lot of people in the room go, don't do that. You want to relax. You also want to have agreement that we are going to focus on this thing, and I'll get to that in a moment. If you're not good at relaxing, if you are 2 people who aren't capable of 3, 2, 1, there, I'm going to take a few moments to talk to you about ways to help yourself relax. A very simple way is to get yourself into the practice of counting yourself down, relaxing each part of your body with every count. You're going to need to do that probably 5 or 6 times, so that you're creating a pathway that says, my feet really are relaxed, my legs are relaxed, my knees are relaxed, my thighs are relaxed, my hips, on and on and on. Once you've gotten to where a 5 or 10 count will allow you to relax, and you usually know that it worked because you fell asleep, you can start grouping parts into it and have fewer counts. If you started with 10, go down to 5. My feet all the way up to my hips, relaxed. My hips up to my shoulders, relaxed. My neck through my head, relaxed. If you have already started at 5, then maybe you want to shift it to 3, 2, 1, or 2, 1, and then eventually relax. You want to be relaxed, but you want to be alert. You know your state of daydreaming. You're standing in the grocery line and suddenly you are off on the last trip to, what was it? Sorry, didn't mean to miss that, was just daydreaming there. That's actually a very powerful state of mind, unless you are really sleep deprived, in which case it might simply be your body saying, I can't take this any longer, I've got to sleep. That daydreamy state is a function of your brain that's not quite tuned into your everyday punches of power. Do you know what I mean by that? One thing after another that bursts in on you. There is a joke about a dog giving you its full attention, but wait, there's a squirrel. And that people do a version of the same thing. You're talking away to them at the cocktail party, and suddenly they have drifted elsewhere. Now, that might be a statement about your ability to create conversations, but it's also that kind of attention deficit thing. So let that state be that one of, I'm not fully here, but I'm not gone either. It's a relaxed mind. That's all it is. It's a relaxed mind. But that is what you're shooting for. And you're shooting for being able to reach that place quickly. In the meantime, however, when you are with your friend and you are going to be sitting, you might want to take a few moments and one and then the other do that countdown. 10, imagine your feet as fully relaxed, your toes are relaxed. 9, just so the both of you are getting relaxed at the same time. The key is relax. Right. Part 2 is determine what it is you're going to be looking for. Now, what sitting is about is recognizing the energy around you. It's about knowing more than what you think you know. And ultimately, sitting is about your learning how to hear the energy around you, to translate it well, to recognize and accelerate your psychic senses. I kind of hesitate to use that word because it looks like shaking up the 8-ball, and that's not what it is at all.
Try again.
Right. It is instead, you are surrounded with color you can't see, with sounds you can't hear, with conversations you're missing. And it's not because you forgot to put in your hearing aids. It's because where you are on the human spectrum means you have limitations that don't allow you to see it, to smell it, feel good about that one, to hear it, to see it, and so forth. So say, for instance, we are going to, let's start with something simple. Focus on a color. And you're not going to say what color it is, you're just going to focus on it. At that point, the two of you want to sit back to back. And what you're doing is very simply, in a very physical way, lining up to some of the strongest outpourings of physical energy in that other person. Yes, hands are incredible energy conductors. Eyes are incredible energy conductors. But your spine holds the most nerve complex from your gut to your brain that's going to help you connect into that energy in a physical kind of way. Everybody around you looks as though they are sitting in an egg of white light. That light first is a little bit dark as you look into somebody else's energy. Mine isn't going to look like that, but all right. It's going to look a little dark before the light shows up. The dark is simply your temperature, more or less. But the light that moves out from it, that's where you want to be looking. I want you to be able to reach that point where you see color in it. And that's why I suggest that color be something that you look for. Now, at this point, you've determined, you've relaxed, you've determined what it is the two of you are going to do. And the next thing, because sitting is so very simple, is one of you is the sender and the other is the receiver, and the sender sends that color. You imagine everything you can that's that color. You feel yourself drenched in that color. You can even smell that color. You're totally there with that color. Give it 1 minute. Use a timer. 1 minute, not 3 minutes, not 5 minutes. 1 minute of fully pushing out of every pore in your being that color. And when that timer goes off, the person you're sitting with says, I'm getting this color. You're going to be wrong a lot. You're going to, well, I get how there is some blue in green, but that wasn't the color I was looking at. This is less about, oh, I didn't get it right, as it is about practicing it, practicing it, practicing it. And if you find that doing color isn't your thing, think place. Think time, not 4 o'clock, but time period. Think who needs energy right now? Now that's pretty advanced. And a person comes to mind and comes through. This is about learning to become sensitive to what you're actually getting all the time anyway from others that you're reading without knowing it. Now, why in the world would I think you need to learn to read somebody without knowing it? And what does that have to do with Samhain? And no, I'm not finished with these instructions yet. I'm just off on the side. What does Samhain have to do with sitting? Why?
It's going to be easier for us to learn it right now because the energy is such that it is.
Very much, aye.
It's not only the energy that of the seen, but also the unseen.
Right.
And so this gives us practice. We get massive downloads all the time.
Right. And there's another reason. And that is when you become confident that you are connecting in ways that you haven't been able to connect with before, consciously, you're going to trust yourself a lot more. You're going to feel better about your spiritual presence in the world. And there's no better way to go into your new year, November, than being much more confident with that whole energy thing. All right. So the person said, yes, that's exactly what I was sending, or no, that's not what I was sending. But doesn't matter, you don't try again, you just switch. You do the very same thing, 1 minute, no more than 1 minute. Any idea why 1 minute? Because that is a long time when you are sitting there pushing out information or bringing it in. You don't need to try hard, and fact is, trying really hard kind of throws you off. But in the beginning, that's exactly what you're going to be doing, so I may as well go with it, don't you think? A minute can be a very long time. But when you and your partner are good at this, you're going to find that you don't even need a minute. And you can work on making it shorter and shorter and shorter. Now, both of you have had the chance to do it. And if you then say, well, let's do another one and come up with a different subject, that's all right, but don't do this more than 3 times. Ideally, the process should take you between 5-10 minutes tops. And that's including the 1 minute, the saying what it is, the relaxation, the turning around away from each other, the turning back to each other. This is very short. So it's very possible that you could do more than 1 or 2, but don't overdo this. And my recommendation really is that you do 1. Jim?
Physically sitting down, or can you do it standing up?
You can do it standing up if that's your preference, sure.
You didn't say anything about grounding. Would that be helpful to ground yourself?
Actually not. I don't want you grounded for this.
Right.
I want you as airy-fairy as you can be for this.
When you say back to back, it sounds like your backs are touching so that you're not sitting in a chair.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. Touching. Cam and then Jim.
Couple quick ones. The relaxation starts facing each other.
Well, you don't have to be, you can start back to back if you wish. The key is that you're both in a relaxed state. Now, if you are back to back for that relaxation, you're not going to shift it out when you turn around. So think about that as well. But don't make this rule bound. You want to do what flows easily for you. There was another one.
Yeah, so you just agree on whether it's going to be a color or a place or a person?
You agree on what you're both going to be focusing on. And anybody know why you both need to be focusing on the same thing? It's pretty surface, so don't think too hard about it. Yes, sort of a frequency thing. It's more of a, well, we're already there, thinking, trying to receive or send this subject. So it's putting you on a head start playing field. Is that mixing metaphors? I think it is, isn't it? Jim.
The reason to do this sitting the ultimate goal or the focus of it is to become sensitive in your daily life
Yes.
to that still small voice.
Yes.
So you can be of more of service.
And that has never changed. That is absolutely the reason. I want you in that place. Cold, are you both? I want you in that place in which you are fully aware. Not because you're guessing you're there, but because you have regular confirmation on what you're getting. That is huge. Sitting is an easy piece of that. Frank, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Kathy?
So if we're doing this,
Well, I'm not quite finished with it, but
okay, I was just going to ask, if we're doing this via technology, is there something we can do to help make that connection with the other person since we're not spine to spine?
well, I think the thing that would be most helpful is to remember that you are receiving through those electronics. And it's that conscious acceptance of that will work. The other part of it is, in the big picture, you're not face to face with or back to back with most people that you see in this world, are you? Maybe some strange lineup could bring that about.
The grocery line will change how we check out.
And while that may be so, you're not having to run up, get back to back with someone to be able to say, I get where you're coming from, I understand this. This is the energy that I'm getting about what's going on with you, about. So having to be back to back isn't required. But let me say this again. Doing this electronically is the only thing worse than it is not doing it at all. It's not the best way to do this. Being right there in somebody's energy is going to do more, much more. Stuart?
If one person, I'm confused by the exercise, and I know.
Well, I haven't finished it yet, but sure.
One person's a sender and one's a receiver.
Right.
But both people know what's being sent?
Right. No, they know the general idea of what's being sent. For instance, we're going to focus on color, but you don't know what the sender is sending, which might be blue. You are simply working to pay attention to what shows up, or thoughts that come in that have to do with color. Suzanne?
Should you always do it with the same person, or does it matter if you switch people, or?
Well, I think that you'll find it very helpful to set up the kind of rapport that comes from working with the same person. But certainly, as a for instance, you could have an organized group that sort of played musical chairs, where you shifted that way. And you'll quickly find, there are some people I connect better with than others. Pay attention to that, be aware of that. So, sure, that can work that way. You can do this with a creature that you are quite close to, with your beloved doggy. Yes, those are feet. Yes, you could do that, couldn't you? By sitting quite next to them, you may find that your communication with them fully changes. But that doesn't eliminate the need to do it with people. Now, in the month of October, I want you to remember, through this month, the veil is just getting thinner. And the veil is only the illusion that keeps you from realizing your unique oneness with all things. Sitting is about releasing that illusion and being able to see a bigger picture. Now, once you have both had this chance, you end it with gratitude. Gratitude is the end of whatever you have been working on. And if you're not at a point where you feel grateful, you're still working on it. So, gratitude. Thank you for doing this exercise with me. That's a great gratitude. Thank you, universe, for being able to learn to send and receive and practice getting what comes my way. Gratitude. Gratitude. This, well, it's quite different than what I gave 20 years ago as an exercise in sitting. But I could not come up with a better name because you're sitting together. So I'm going back to calling it sitting. You have a better name there?
No, I was going to ask,
darn.
could it be possible or helpful to put it in the simplest form on the website?
Sure, as long as it's not confusing. But that simple form, let me go over it again. You relax. You determine what's going to be sent. You determine a sender and a receiver for that round. You set your timer for 1 minute. You sit back to back. Maybe you're already seated back to back. And the sender starts immersing themselves in every kind of thought about what you decided on. When that 1 minute is up, the receiver says, I just kept thinking about blah. Well, that was it, or it wasn't, or that was partially it. A quick veer off yet again. If you're sending blue, and you are sending pictures of blue skies, realize that the individual might say, "Ooh, I'm really getting Jamaica." Because you're thinking blue skies. Green, and you send pictures of lots of forests, and they say, well, that must be Scotland because, and it wasn't. But they were getting that idea because they were seeing lots and lots of green trees. And in that case, as the receiver, you would say, well, I think you must be in Scotland because I see lots and lots of green trees. And you would say, right, I was sending green. You see, doesn't have to be hard, doesn't have to be exactly on it. you're learning to become aware of what you are getting, because you are always getting it. And once that has been said, sender, receiver, worked, did not work, you're going to express gratitude. And you're finished. 5-10 minutes, you're finished. David and Claudia.
Is the sender just exuding the thing, or are they trying to direct it to that person?
No. You can direct it to that person if you wish. But mainly, all you need to do is be thinking it, be smelling it, be totally it, because they are in contact with you. They're sitting in your mental field. They're sitting right there in your energy.
Earlier, did you say for both of you to take a turn? First one says the other
Yes,
and then switch?
yes, one and then the other. You both get a turn at this. And then if you decide after that you want to do it again with a different subject, do that. Now, this is a very simplified thing. What I really want you to realize is that you already are getting this information. You are actually even working on this information. It's making it conscious. It's making it quick to come back. You dancers, you walk into a room and you feel the energy of the space, and you improvise to go with it, don't you? Of course you do. It's that feeling, the space, that's a part of this. You're getting this information. But you've taught yourself to close down most of it. This is giving yourself permission to start listening again. Now, I work with very high-frequency beings. So why would I give high-frequency beings this really basic exercise at Samhain, no less? Because you are going to be inundated with information. And maybe this will help you stop saying, I think I made this up. I'm not sure that I really got this. In your culture, women especially have learned to disempower themselves through their conversations. And one way of doing that is, well, I think what I got might have been this. Hedging everything. So coming to that place where you are confident in Louise has a very blue light surrounding her right now. And you're being able to glance over and say, yeah, I see that.
There's a blue hat on. No, she doesn't. She doesn't. It's the other Louise. Forgot what she had on.
Hi.
The input is coming from outside of oneself?
Yes and no.
That from this other person?
Tell me, Cam. What is it you're not connected to? Trick question, be careful.
Well, here's, and you're probably anticipating this, but if this is an exercise in learning your own still voice, is it just that this exercise quiets you down enough to start making that, then picking up this stimulation or
Which
energy,
oh, right.
which might be a color from a person that you're working with, how is that going to lead one to having that knowing or inner awareness of what one's own.
It gives you the language, and it gives you confidence in knowing it.
Which brings trust.
Hopefully.
Is this what some have referred to as the language of light?
I don't think so. Because what I would say is the language of light in this world is love. And a further language of light has to do with the geometrics, if you will, atomic building blocks of photonic movement within your body and as it connects outside in the universe. That's learning to direct that is quite a different thing than this. This, I want you to reach that point that you confidently know what that still small voice is saying, know what the energy is saying, know what it means to you.
So the energy that you're getting from this partner that you're working with is similar to the energy that you're giving to yourself to discern what yourself is, what this deeper part of yourself is trying to convey your consciousness.
Well, the question that I ask, tell me what you're not connected with. The answer is you are connected with everything. So in fact, anybody you are connecting with is yourself. But this is about the manifestations of yourself through energetic communication that you do not usually interpret consciously. You are learning to become conscious with those interpretations.
True on that.
Work on that. I think you'll actually enjoy it quite a bit. Just don't let it become a comparative judgment thing. And also work not to turn yourself off, which is very easy to do. Oh, I'm not getting anything because your toes didn't buzz. Or your heart didn't beat faster, so that means you're not getting it. Every one of you can easily learn this, should you wish to. But if you don't wish to, you can very easily continue on your way in the world, never having to deal with what the universe is trying to give you. Frank?
Would this be an example? I'm finding this in other place, but in Scotland, we were walking along and there was this tree I kept running across. And
what?
Not running into it.
All right. Or maybe it was down and he was, all right.
And I didn't know what kind of tree it was, and I was saying, I wonder what kind of tree it was.
Yes, this
And I
is
just thought
exactly.
it was an aspen, and I don't know trees, and so I looked it up, and it was an aspen.
Right. You learned to touch into that universal communication that was coming through that tree to answer your question. That's exactly.
Natural Google.
Right. But being confident in it. Yes. Good example. Thank you.
Oh, and that's like an example of the still small voice in yourself accessing that. And
Yes.
bringing it to you.
Yes. Yes.
Google without your computer.
How, or at what level might this connect with the kind of magnetized thought that you taught many years ago? And I'm thinking of that only because I shared with you an experience I had on the subway where I had meditated red, and I had a guy with a red tie and a red jacket and a red sweater standing in front of me when I opened up my eyes. Is it the same kind?
Well, yes and no. Anytime that you are focused on a thing, you are going to be drawing it toward you. So if you are focused on blue, you're going to become much more aware of all of the blue that you see around you, because you are a great big electromagnet, more or less. You are going to be drawing like energies, thoughts, your way. Magnetized thought, however, is a manifestation technique. And it's slightly different than sitting, but only in that you're putting out that thought that thoroughly, but it's the other person receiving it. And that's what we're after here. The send, receive with confidence. Hey, I think you'll find it pretty easy. Hi.
Yeah, I don't mean to.
You again.
Yeah. I don't mean to be redundant. I just want to make sure I'm kind of interpreting this right. So when you do correctly get the color that the person has been, and you kind of know it, that is an act of your still small voice in you receiving and conveying to yourself, in a sense.
All right. Yes, but I want you to be careful. Still small voice could slap you right back to your childhood when you're listening to the still small voice of God in you or something like that. So maybe you want to put a different label on it. And I would call it, let's go with where you were with the idea of the language of light. It's your light body that is already connected to everything there is. Everyone there is. Every particle there is. It is your light body telling your brain what it's filtering at the moment. If I were to ask you, close your eyes and tell me the color of Mary Claire's eyes, that might be too easy. But still, everybody else in here can do this. How do you know what color they are? You open your eyes and you say, they're blue. Why do you know that?
Memory.
And that's what everything is. Every piece of information is the memory of the universe. And you are receiving it with that perfect knowing, blue, or purple, or green, and it's, if it comes to you as a word, and most of you, your brain processes to you, and you think in words because you have language that works that way for you. But maybe it comes to you as a feeling, or maybe it comes to you as a smell. Oh, Mary Claire, your eyes smell so good. But it's that way that you remember the knowing. That's how it's going to come to you. Like you remember what they were thinking. That same idea. Don't try to get it all at once. Let it develop. Work on it. Make connections with each other to try it. And keep it up.
Can you also practice, like, when I go to the Arboretum, that's especially magical there, and I see all the tree faces, and I thank the trees, and I'm talking to them. So that same kind of connection?
But the problem with that is that the I'm just making this up bear is still there. Ooh, I'm having this wonderful connection. The trees and I had a great conversation. I hope, maybe. No. I'm pretty sure. But if you're doing this with somebody who can confirm that information, you're right, I got the same thing, or that's exactly what I was sending. And you're right, I got the same thing is an advanced version of this that will come later. But, well, unless you're in Sedona. But right now, work on those basics. Because all of this is about putting it into the world and knowing you've got it. The new you for this new year needs to be fully confident in the world of energy that you are living in, that you are working with. The more you are capable of confidently wielding the energy that is around you, then the more you're going to be able to do to serve this world. So that's what I'm looking for. All right. That's a lot of assignment for 1 month. But give it a try. All right. Last thing. A lot of people around you have a lot of needs right now. So stay very aware. You know that I regularly remind you that you go through things and then you see the world starting to go through it. Be sympathetic, compassionate, gentle, with you and with others. Many of them are frightened, yes, but many of them are just beginning to look at themselves. And some are focusing on the hurt and the pain rather than the joy and the love. So keep sending healing, wholeness at this time. Love all, always. Look in your mirror.